Welcome. My name is Kelly Riordan. I'm a classical musician turned creative entrepreneur, and this is the best platform for musicians that are looking to shape their career by thinking outside the box. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kelly Riordan. This episode was made possible by the private music lesson business programs at Outside the Box. Today's guest is an alum of Outside the Box Scale, and we will be talking about wins, tips for building a private music studio, and more. Let's get into it. Kelly here, and I have Anamarie from Diaz Flute Studio, and I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about how she built her brand new flute studio that she started a few years ago into a multi-teacher program as part of her portfolio career. So, Anamarie, I'd love to just kick it off by having you tell us a little bit more about yourself and that portfolio career and everything that you're doing as a musician right now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I am a portfolio musician, so I do a lot of things, which includes I teach privately at my home studio. I do a little bit of adjunct teaching at a local college here in Richmond. I perform a whole bunch in the area, and I also do some arts administration work with some nonprofits in the area. So wearing lots of hats, doing lots of things.
But what you were talking about a moment ago, that it's so important that musicians know that that's a reality, because a lot of times in university, you see a professor who is only a professor, or you see a symphony musician that's their full-time gig as well. Mm-hmm. That's not the reality for most of us, right?
Yeah.
I know you spoke on a panel about this recently too, so I know you're seeing it a lot with other musicians. But do you feel like that's something that you realized coming out of university, that you were going to have this mix?
No. I didn't know what my career was going to look like, and I knew teaching was going to be a part of it, and I guess I thought that teaching was going to be the majority of it. But as I started my studio, right, you're building this business, and so you kind of need to supplement income while you're growing your business. And so that's where I started doing all of these other things. And of course, I wanted to perform as much as possible, like a lot of musicians do, and that's a slow build too, you know? So all of these other little things that I have been doing, kind of all grew together to kind of form my career. And so if you would have asked me 5 years ago when I started Diaz Flute Studios, if this is where I saw it, I had no idea what I saw. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that I needed something to make a living as a musician, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's like the ultimate goal, is we don't want to be, I know at the time that we started working together, again, this is several years ago, so we're kind of reflecting back on a really big journey and a lot of change over the last few years, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
But when we first started working together, like, you weren't supporting yourself in music. That was the big goal, was like, I just want to make sure that music is the majority, if not my entire income, and working in this industry. And I think that's the goal that a lot of us have. It's kind of a crummy feeling when this thing that you've worked so hard for is not the thing that's bringing you income.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I attribute it a lot of it to my stubbornness. You know, I got a degree. I have 2 degrees in music. We're going to make this work, you know?
Oh my gosh. Okay. On that note, like, a little personal conviction of mine is that a lot of times university treats itself like this little academic bubble where, oh, we're just here to get better at your instrument, and you shouldn't worry about how you're going to make money doing it in the future, because we're just here to learn. Like, we're not here to build a career, we're here to learn. But the reality is, the second that you step foot on a university campus or a conservatory campus, you are a professional at that point. That's something I wish I had known going in, is that from day one, you were held to the expectations of a professional. Because you won that audition, you were already good enough, even though the money is flowing in the wrong direction.
Sure, yeah.
But you are held to professional standard. And I think I was looking at my colleagues at university who are not music majors and thinking, well, like, their life is way more chill than mine. Yeah. And it's so confusing. Like, how come you have so much more free time and I have to practice 6 hours a day? This is bananas.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a great point. If you go into your degree program thinking I'm a professional, and luckily you're surrounded by so many opportunities, and you take every opportunities, you're gonna be a little bit ahead of the game, I think, when you come out of college.
Yeah, I would have made different choices for sure. Especially in my undergrad, if I had known.
For sure.
Hindsight's 2020. Oh my gosh. So the last few years have been really exciting, and there has been a lot of change. Let's jump back to the beginning for a moment. At that point, we're thinking like early 2021, just to kind of ground
Yeah.
everybody in our timeline, which is just, it's still shocking to me that we've made it this far this fast. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and the time has flown by. But at that point, where were we in the studio? What was happening? Where were your frustrations? Like what stage were we at that point?
Yeah, so I think I might have had one, maybe two students. We're still fully virtual.
Mm.
And I think I had to be fully virtual, not only because of the pandemic, but my husband and I were living in an apartment at the time. We weren't even married, so I don't think we were even engaged at that point. But we were living in this like tiny 1-bedroom apartment. We had moved back to Richmond during the pandemic. We were running out of money because I didn't know anything about making a career in music. I
Yeah.
was serving. And so, yeah, I just needed help to get students in the door and try to make this a business.
Mm. It was, I know, frustrating for you too, because you had done a lot of marketing and outreach. Like there were a lot of things that we had tried at
Yeah.
that point. Like our conversation was not the first time you ever thought, I'm going to start really taking the studio thing
Right.
seriously.
Right, right.
You'd been putting a lot of work into it, and it just felt a little bit sticky.
It felt a little
Um,
sticky. I had a website up at that
yeah.
point, and I had done teaching when I lived in North Carolina at a local music school. But it was just like, I'm in a new place. I think I
Yeah.
have like 2 virtual students. Help me.
Yeah. And obviously the goal was quick growth, but we also want to make sure we had ideal students as we were
Yeah.
growing the studio. So
Yeah.
over the next year or so, the studio transitioned a lot. We had a ton of growth. We're gonna like fast forward to this part. I know that
Sure.
this is normally where we spend a lot of time in these interviews. It's like, how did you get your initial students? But there's so many things that have happened after that that I want
Yeah.
to like tie a little bow on this initial part. So we worked together, the studio grew really beautifully. At the end of about a year, we kind of checked in. What did the studio look like at that point?
Yeah, at that point, so I think now we're towards the end of 2021 or at the beginning of 2022. At that point, I'm pretty sure I was teaching full time at my studio. So I had enough students coming in to support myself, and my husband at that point. I was teaching probably roughly between 15 and 20 hours a week doing that, and I might have had some arts admin jobs as well going on with that. But yeah, I had moved to in-person lessons. Some students were still virtual, and I think I was spending a lot of time saying like, okay, how do I maintain this business now?
Yeah. And we had a few life changes that created some like positive, happy hiccups in that
Happy
sustainability
hiccups.
too. So we've,
Yeah.
just to kind of fill everybody in as well, uh, our work together in early 2021, this was pretty early and out of the box.
Yeah,
Like
it was.
we were in our infancy stages as well.
Yeah.
I just started taking paid clients through Outside the Box, which at the time when we were working together was not even Outside the Box at that point. Like the website was just kellyriordan.com.
Yep.
So we were in, yeah, like the very, very early stages of all of that. The program looked entirely different than what things are now. And that's also part of why we're kind of like highlight reeling through some of this too.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot has changed on our end. It's like very, very different. But one of the really cool things about this working relationship and honestly professional friendship is that we've continued to check in over
Yeah.
time. I love hearing updates. I love hearing what everyone is up to, but also because we were so early on and we got to work so closely together in those early stages. Like selfishly, I just always want to know what's happening in your business and your life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
fun to see this transition and this growth, and there's been so many good things that have happened. So, okay, we kind of hinted at that point. Patrick was not your husband yet. So in all of this, we get married.
We
and
get
we have some
married.
other really exciting updates.
Yes, and a year ago I had a baby.
Yeah. Yay.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. Which presented a whole bunch of other challenges.
So many challenges. Yeah, yeah.
So as someone who has a portfolio career and you have a full studio and are trying to balance everything, like fast forward to that point in your journey. It's so exciting. And also I think there's this little bit of panic that sets in like, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage this as someone who's self-employed? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, the panic happened the second month I was pregnant of like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
But we're here and we're thriving. So a big part of having a baby was I was teaching 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at my studio, sometimes Saturday mornings, when you have students and you keep getting lesson inquiries, sometimes it's hard to say no,
Yep.
money is coming in. It's a great feeling. So I was teaching 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week. And I knew that once I had my daughter, really things were going to have to change. And so one of the biggest things that I was able to do was I planned for a 3-month maternity leave, which was amazing. It actually turned out to be a 4-month maternity leave because she came a month early. So sometimes you can't plan these things. but I was able to do that and maintain pretty much all of the students that I had up to that point, which was excellent. And a big change was that I went from teaching 5 days a week to 3 days a week and bringing in another teacher, which has been amazing because I don't teach on Thursdays and Fridays. Yeah. And I can spend that time either doing a little bit of other work or spend that time with my daughter.
And it's important to have that balance. I think it's something that coming out, again, if you think about that coming out of school transition, you're just saying yes to every single opportunity. Mm-hmm. We're not really thinking about that sustainability and that longevity. But you get to a point where maybe you don't want to teach, whether it's because you have children or for other personal reasons. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't want to teach until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night anymore.
It's true. Yeah.
It's exhausting. And mm-hmm. and I have some wonderful colleagues in the building that I rent my space in who are also music teachers. And sometimes I'll see them there until 9:30 at night. And that's tough. Like that's a really, really difficult balance, knowing that they have families at home and personal lives outside of that. So having that transition, that support, how is that? I mean, obviously, yes, we get time with our family, which is so important, but how has that impacted you personally, being able to have a little bit more work-life balance, if you will?
I think one of the biggest things is I'm able to kind of look at my career and be like, I get 2 days off where I'm not working, I'm not tied to a schedule, and it's just made me truly like abundantly grateful to choose this career. Whereas like 5 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, why did I decide to be a flute player? But you know what I mean?
Why am I torturing myself?
Yeah, why am I doing this? But no other career, at least with like my idea of other careers, would I be able to do this? We don't have my daughter in daycare, and because of that, it's because of my career. It's because of the flexibility that this has allowed me. And I'm just, I'm grateful for the decisions that I've made, probably 90% of the time.
Yeah, that was a couple of bumps in the road. Hey.
Yeah,
Well, and it's exciting too. So like, for example, not having your daughter in daycare also means it's great quality time for all of you, which is so important in these early stages.
Yes.
But also, as I know you're really passionate about from a financial aspect, the fact that we have that balance and we don't have that expense is really nice.
It's massive. Truly. Yeah. Just being able to know that I have this business that is able to support me and my family. And actually right now my husband is in school. He's finishing up his undergrad degree. And so I am the main provider for my family, the family of 4 if you count my cat. But truly, I think if you talk to the majority of people and you were to say, like me as a self-employed musician, the main provider for our family, most people wouldn't believe you, Yeah. So it's a huge testament to this career field and what's possible in this career field. And being able to have this flexibility and have the financial setup to do this is massive for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this too. There's a TikTok trend going around right now that I think is especially popular among musicians because I've seen multiple videos, and it's text on screen, usually a bunch of B-roll, and it says like, jealous, I make your annual salary in a month.
Yeah.
Or sorry, your monthly salary in a year. Gosh,
Something
I flipped
like
that
that
one around, didn't
I?
Yikes. But yeah, like obviously disparaging ourselves and as musicians, like how little money we make.
Yeah.
And when I see those, like, I get that it's humor. It also just makes me really sad.
Makes me really sad.
That doesn't have to be the case. Like, we might be piecing together things on top of other work, and then maybe it doesn't necessarily matter. Maybe the goal isn't for music to be our full-time job, and then it doesn't matter if the monthly is what becomes their annual income from music, it's probably not a huge factor then. But if our goal is to be working in music full time, there are opportunities.
There are
And
opportunities. Yeah.
you have to value yourself enough to be selective in those opportunities, but then also to charge what you're worth for lessons and
Yeah.
to find that growth and treat yourself like a business.
Yes.
Not because we're trying to be, like we're not trying to take advantage of anybody. We're not trying to like charge exorbitant rates to cheat anyone out of
Right.
something that we
Right.
don't actually, deserve in our payment, but because we are worth it. We've put how many decades of our
Yeah.
life into this craft. And
Yes.
there's a market for it. People are willing to pay for that service.
Yes. Yes. And what I've truly found is that, especially in my private teaching studio, is that, I mean, and this is going to be like, no duh, but I think it's important to say is like, if you dedicate your time and you do a very good job, your families will see that and they're going to be like, oh, we've found a gem. Like, this is something special. Because for me and my students, I dedicate a lot of time. My students who are old enough, great example. This past weekend was all district band auditions for my students. And one of my students called me at 7:30 p.m. to tell me that they made it, right? So we're making like personal relationships. We're truly like changing students' lives, and families will see that. And to look at it from a monetary point of view, families will pay for that because they can see the value in that,
Yeah. It's more than just the lesson. In the time and the energy that we're putting in, but also in the relationship and in the value that people get out of it. I know something that you're passionate about too, so I'm going to speak for you for just a second, if that's okay, and I'd love for you to expand on this. It's not just the lesson time that you're creating, and the value that you want to create in the studio is also not just the lessons. And I think that's one of the strengths of working for yourself versus another studio, right? That a lot of times when you're working in a big multi-teacher program, you're just plugged into their system. So you essentially are showing up, teaching, and then leaving.
Yeah.
And we don't get to have the same relationship because honestly, that business owns that student relationship and that contract with the student. So they don't really want you to have that relationship because it threatens, like if you leave, it threatens their business that students could try to follow you, right? There's some competition there for them. But what's really unique about being independent is like, it can be a little bit more work, but we're making a lot more money for that work. And then you get complete creative control. Like you're not just teaching. You told me right before this, we had a recital last weekend. We have a recital this weekend. We're doing ensembles and a whole bunch of other things. Your kids appreciate that.
My students appreciate it, and it's fun, right? It's a whole different like creative space than just playing my flute, and I love having complete control over that. It's part of I like being in charge. It's part of my personality. And so it's great to be able to come up with these creative endeavors that benefit my students. We have 2 recitals in my studio, a winter recital and a spring recital. I just hosted a studio party, which was so much fun. I do mock auditions. It's fun to, over the summer, I did a composition project with my students.
Nice.
Just coming up with creative ideas to get them inspired. And, parents appreciate that. They see that, Yeah.
Well, and there's more, not only buy-in on what you're offering, but you're learning about your students' musical preferences and personal preferences on a deeper level too. So because you get to see all these different aspects of them, like a studio party, you're also seeing them in a social setting.
Yes.
And that gives us insight into who they are, especially for our younger students, as who they are as little humans that are still developing and growing and what skills we can work on. And I know sometimes you see students in a social setting or at a recital and how they kind of behave amongst their peers, and you're like, oh, we might be able to like use music to work on some confidence here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
and
that's, I can think of examples like that in my own studio too. I'm like, oh, you are so different in our one-on-one setting because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
This is really interesting for me to see.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually feel like for a few of my students since the studio party, I actually think they've opened up more in lessons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they feel safer. There's a whole community of support. It's not just you.
Yeah. It's not just me in this one-on-one setting. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, on a side note, it was a little scary to be like, I'm about to have like 7 teenagers in my house. Are they going to think this is lame? Like, we like decorated like Christmas tree ornaments. Like, are they going to think it's lame? No, they all had a great time. They all loved it.
Oh,
So,
oh, I love that so much. And
yeah.
it does, it builds that community where now when they see each other at auditions, and of course
Yes.
studio recitals, but there's a social aspect to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that music does so beautifully is we can at the same time be competing amongst ourselves for the same opportunities and spots, but also know that these are our friends. And I
Yep.
think that balance is really healthy as opposed to like being on a sports team where you might not always know the people on the other team.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just view them as the competition in that setting. There's still benefits, of course, to that socially too. I'm not discounting that, but I think that there's a really unique element of music where these are our friends and we're competing with them, and we have to learn
Yes.
that maturity and that balance in those
Yes.
relationships.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, from a social standpoint, it's fun for kids and teenagers to be like, I have my friends here, and then I have this whole other group of friends that are my flute friends or my music
Yeah.
friends, and they love that. Kids really thrive in community. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And those are lifelong friendships potentially
Oh,
too.
yeah.
As a great example of this, just briefly, I was in New York last week for a work event, and someone came up to me afterwards and reintroduced himself because I haven't seen him in 15 years at this point, and he was in youth orchestra with me, and
Oh my
had seen
gosh.
on Instagram that I was going to be in New York and just decided to swing by and say hi. What? Like
Amazing.
so I didn't even know he was living in the city at that point. So like
Yeah.
it's just so fun to build those connections around a shared passion that
Hmm.
it just opens those social doors too.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Speaking of opening doors,
Hmm.
the studio has built a lot of other opportunities. So now we have this multi-teacher program. Tell me a
Hmm.
little bit about how that came to be.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this idea again was sparked by something I saw from you. I know you and I met just before the summer, and I was like, listen, I need to not teach 5 days a week. I need to figure something out.
Help.
Yes, help. And you talked to me about a few different opportunities, and I liked this idea about bringing in another teacher into the studio. And I knew, from college, I have colleagues in the area who I know are great teachers and players, and it really kind of just worked out perfectly. This teacher that I worked out to, her and I went to college together. She jumped at the opportunity, and it's great because the way we worked it out is it's truly like she is teaching her studio here in my studio space, and again I get a percentage just like the building that you probably teach out of, similar idea. And she's growing her studio. Her and I can collaborate on recitals and things like that. And now I kind of have somebody who we can try and grow this business together. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of opportunity for this business that I've created and now she's a part of to expand even further.
Yeah.
And that's not something I thought would happen when you and I initially talked about this idea. So it's great, just when you get to a point where you can think about growing and expanding, opportunities really do start opening up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and colleagues look to you and think, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?
Exactly.
Like, tell me more." And then that can open some of these doors too, where when you do have it figured out, there might be some aspects of the marketing or the business admin and finance that others just aren't excited about doing. And I
Yeah.
fully understand that. Not
Yep.
everyone wants to take on those challenges
Yeah.
and build those skills because they are skills that we have to practice
Oh,
and we
yeah.
have to develop over time. So it also means that you get to lend those skills to other people and support other musicians, which what a cool place to be in
Yeah.
our career and to do it ethically, right? Like we're
Yes.
paying a very comfortable wage. We're not
Yes.
trying to think about some of like the big chain multi-teacher programs that can take 60% of revenue. Like that
Right.
is not what we're
That's
doing.
not
We're
what
trying
we're
to
doing.
ensure that we're supporting a musician fully
Yes.
as opposed and then obviously being compensated for your work and your time. But
Yeah.
we don't want to take everything over and bleed them dry essentially. So it's nice to have that balance, and it's probably really rewarding if I can like speak to what I know we've
Yeah.
discussed a little bit. I think it's really rewarding to be on that other side.
Yeah.
But even more importantly, you're opening doors for others and then also supporting even more students. Like you had a wait list.
I had a wait
At a certain
list.
point, we need to be able to serve those students and support them too. And this is
Yes.
one way that we can do that really, really beautifully nice and nicely as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly. Yep.
So other things have opened as well. It's not just a multi-teacher studio. Again, portfolio career.
Portfolio career.
We're back to where we started. There's a lot of other really cool things happening. I'd love for you to speak a little bit about the kind of personal finance journey that you've been on over the last few years too.
Yeah. So this is something totally that caught me off guard. But I love it. I love that it caught me off guard. And so I'm in the process of becoming a certified personal financial counselor. I'm very passionate about this subject. And it truly started from when you and I worked together all the way back in 2021. I know part of our work was talking about making money. Something we did was we wrote down a bunch of mantras about personal finance and bringing in money. And it truly, I think you were one of the first people I've ever talked to who's a musician that talked about essentially like it's okay to want to make money in your craft, because I think that's a little taboo as a musician. I think
Which still boggles my mind.
Yeah, I think
endlessly frustrated by this.
I think it's a little taboo to be like, I want to be a musician and I want to make money. And we should all have that mindset. So I don't know why it's taboo, but it is. And to speak personally about where I was at that point when you and I were working together, my now husband, we were in debt. We had a bunch of credit card debt. We had a car payment. I was serving at a restaurant. He was, I think, also serving at a restaurant. Our monthly income was just like not where it needed to be. And I wanted to get married. We knew we wanted to have a kid. We wanted to buy a house at some point. The idea of retirement was like not a thing. And so it was a panicking moment on the financial side. How am I going to make this work? Do I just need to stop being a musician totally and just get a 9-to-5? So that's where I was. And through, growing the studio and understanding that I can actually make an income, and then being like, oh wait, like I can make money. Okay, but now I need to understand how to manage that money. That's where this personal finance journey started. Was like, okay, I'm making money. We need to get out of debt. We need to do all these things. Let's talk about student loan debt. I have a lot of that. Was like, I need to understand how to truly like manage my finances better. I need to set up my business in a way that I can pay myself a consistent monthly salary. And so I started this personal finance journey really through reading books, listening to a lot of podcasts. My mom is a small business owner, so I got a little bit of insight about how she sets up her business. But halfway through this journey, I was like, other musicians need to know this stuff. Like no one teaches you how to manage that gig income that you make during the Christmas season. No one tells you about taxes. No one tells you all of these things that are crucial for us to be working, living musicians,
Yeah.
And so I started this Instagram account called The Financial Flutist. The Financial Flutist is no longer a thing. That's a different story. But I really started to just try to educate musicians on personal finance. I've gone in and spoken to universities about personal finance, and it's been a really wonderful journey with my personal finance work, and it's truly rewarding because the more musicians can stay in the industry, the better off we all are, So
you can do it for the love of the music, and it can be profitable and support you.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be an either or. And I get that mindset. I think a lot of this, again, kind of stems from academia, where we are in this bubble where the music just exists and the professors are all hopefully making, especially if they're full-time, they're hopefully making a very livable wage. And so they are supported, and a lot of them are tenure. And so their career is taken care of. And a lot of times they got that job fairly shortly after they finished their terminal degree. They don't always know what it looks like to be in our position.
Yes.
Gigging. And so I can distinctly remember being told that I was wrong for having a part-time job, when I was in school. Like, I'm taking away time from practicing.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I can't afford to just practice
Right.
because I can't live if I don't have this job. Like,
right.
Why is it bad for me to want to be able to pay my rent and not take on additional loans? Like, that's, yeah, I could go further into debt. But when you're sitting at 75 grand in student loan debt and you're thinking about taking on another person, like, why would I do that? I could just get a part-time, like, so that balance is so difficult. And I think the industry has I think it has a lot of maturing to do, in my opinion. I think that narrow view of like, you just have to create art for the sake of the art. And if you are valuing money from your art, you're no longer an artist. You're too capitalist for this to be successful, or for you to be a true musician artist. You don't have to sacrifice for it. In fact, I really believe that the folks that are creating music and are in a stable financial position, I think they create art more freely.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
It's so much easier when you get to say yes to the opportunities that are actually aligned, and you can create music because it's fun and you enjoy it. I think the experience is better. Like, no one wants to say yes to that like third Saturday gig, and you're stacking gigs and you're playing until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
If it's not even music that you enjoy.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that balance is so important. So I'm thrilled that you're on this journey. I'm thrilled that you shared this mindset and that you've come so far in this, because I know some of the early conversations, like, it is uncomfortable. Even just asking, what is your revenue right now? Or what are your revenue goals? People can claim up a little bit. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not comfortable, and this is not the norm in our industry.
Not the norm.
And yet there's a lot of musicians, and you are such a good example of this, that are out there absolutely crushing it, who are supporting themselves and supporting their families, and are not horribly overworked. Like, you're saying yes to the aligned opportunities and still supporting yourself comfortably, and you still have Thursday and Friday at home with your kiddo.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is. It truly is. And, to just talk about, starting your business. Again, I think one of the first questions we talked about is what are your revenue goals? A lot of musicians don't even know. And that's where that personal finance information starts, right? You need to know how much money do you need, because that's going to tell you how many students you need to bring in and all of that. So if I can, do a little bit of a plug for myself,
please,
for any of the college students that listen to you, that get your content, I really want to be going into universities and I have this money masterclass that kind of breaks down everything about personal finance, talks about how you set up your business in a way to pay yourself a consistent salary. So if any of your college listeners are interested in that, reach out to me, because I'm so interested. You are the people that I want to talk to about setting this up, because if you can start managing your finances while in college, whether it's a part-time job, whether it's a stipend, and then take that knowledge into the career field, you are going to feel so much more financially set. Therefore, you're going to be able to create art more freely, like we've talked about. So if you're interested in having me come to speak to your university, reach out to me. We're going to make it happen.
Well, and it's important, like you said, learn these skills early.
Yeah.
Because the flip side is also true. Like, when I first started my studio and I was all of a sudden making really good money, and I had more coming in than I ever had in my entire life, there was that moment of like, oh my God, I can buy anything.
I can do what I want. Yeah.
This is amazing. And then you gotta figure out how to rein that one back in too, right? Find the balance in everything that you do. So being able to manage it and figure out, how do you set up your savings, and how do you plan out not only your monthly finances, but your annual finances, and how do you have a retirement fund?
Oh my gosh,
as a
so
self-employed
important.
musician, how do you plan for that so that you don't get to that stage in your life and feel like you have to keep teaching, until it's the end of all things in your life?
Exactly.
Having that balance is so important. So everything that Anamarie is discussing and describing and focus on her work is so important, in my opinion, because we need to have that balance and that knowledge fast. It's so much easier when you do the work early, even when it's uncomfortable, because we're starting in a very small place with our personal finances. If you have those skills now, then as things grow and improve in the future, you're not correcting bad behavior. And I think changing behavior retroactively is so much more challenging.
Totally. Yes. It was much harder for my husband and I to start managing our finances once we were in a place that we had money to manage, because those are just skills we didn't have. Fully didn't have. But if we would have had those skills earlier, I don't think we would have been in quite the situation we were later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here. I fully understand that.
And kind of just to bring it full circle, talking
Yeah.
about personal finances and being like financially sustained as a musician, over the course of these 5 years of growing my business, my husband and I fully got out of credit card debt. We fully paid off our car. We're working on those student loans. I have a child, so we're making like these big financial decisions, and I'm a working classical musician, so it is possible to do these things.
Yeah, it is. I'm so appreciative of you taking the time today to share this because again, it's been a long time since we worked together and I know we have stayed in touch and
Yeah.
as we were like planning mat leave and as we were thinking about hiring, like
Yeah.
we've got to check in over the years and I so appreciate that and I just really enjoy this working relationship like I said earlier.
Yes.
But to see this growth and just thinking back on honestly who we both were like
Truly,
4.5 5 years ago and the growth that's happened since, it's so exciting. And I think that that's something too that if I could impart one thing and anyone that's listening to this, it's just that more is possible than you might be able to imagine right now. And you don't know where it's going to take you, but saying yes to the aligned opportunities and going through those doors is so important. But I also think that I would love for people to just understand that it can happen even faster than you think. Like when we think back on family and growth and hiring, those weren't things that you were thinking about 5 years ago. But even if it was in the back of your head, it was probably like a 10 to 20-year goal.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. And it's just such an exciting feeling to see this happen so fast for you. So congratulations on everything. Thank you again for sharing. I really appreciate it. And we'll have obviously Anamarie's information linked to if anyone's interested. Check her out on social media and check out our website. And I know Diaz Flute Studios obviously is our main studio website.
Yep.
But people can contact you there for other things like the personal finance as well, too.
Yep, absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.